What's up guys? Today I have a tag video for you all. It's the top 2 books from 6 genres. It was originally created by Benjamin with Tomes, and Lisa from the page tagged me to do this video, so that's what I'm doing for you today. What it is basically there's 6 genres and I just have to pick 2 of my favourite books from each genre. So let's get cracking. So the first genre is dystopian. And the first book I'm going to recommend is Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. This book seriously is amazing. It is one of the best books I have ever read. I cannot emphasize how good this book is. The writing in it is something I haven't seen before. It's just so like lyrical, and it's beautiful. And I wrote a review on this, so I've left the link for my review down below if you want to read the review instead of listening to my rambling about it. But yeah, this book is amazing, so I highly recommend this one. The next dystopian book is Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. This series, I adore this series. I've read the first 2 books in it. The third one isn't coming out until the new year, I think. I'm not really sure when the third book is coming out. But yeah, this book is amazing. Again, I wrote a review on this, and I'll leave the link below if you want to go read my review. But Under the Never Sky. The next genre is romance, and I am a total romantic at heart. So this genre was kind of easy, but at the same time not really, because I've read a lot of contemporary books, so it was hard to narrow it down to just 2. The first book I'm going to recommend is Anna and the French Kiss. I read this recently, and it is without a doubt one of the cutest books I have ever read. If you were looking for something light and fluffy and just something just to take your mind off things, and just yeah, I really don't know what to say other than it is so cute. The second romance book I'm going to recommend, I read it on my Kindle, and it is The Coincidence of Callie and Caden by Jessica Svensson. This book is on the complete opposite scale of Anna and the French Kiss. It is very dark and there's a lot of heavy themes in it, and it's more new adult than young adult, so be warned of that. But I loved this book so much, even though I bawled my eyes out at it. I couldn't handle the ending of it. But luckily the sequel is out tomorrow, and I'm kind of freaking out over that because I don't know what way it is going to end, and I'm just freaking out. So it is a fantastic book, but be prepared for tears, so bring tissues. The next genre is fantasy, and I wasn't really sure which of my books I would class as fantasy, but I was able to pick out 2 anyway. So the first book I'm going to recommend is Touch of Frost by Jennifer Estep. This one is kind of an urban fantasy book. It's about mythology and everything. And it's about a school of kids that have all these different powers and everything. They're all kind of not descendants from gods, but descendants from like Spartans and Vikings and Amazons and everything. And they each have different powers. And I love mythology books, so this one I loved. So if you're looking for something along that lines, Touch of Frost is a fantastic read. Okay, so the next fantasy book I'm going to recommend you've all probably heard of, unless you've been living in a cave. And this book, without a doubt, is among my top favourite reads. And it is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. This book is it's amazing. Selena as a heroine is just so badass, and I love her. And I love all the fantasy, the action, the romance, just everything about this book. I wrote a review on it, so if you want to go check that out, I'll leave the link below. But yeah, this book is amazing, and I found Crown of Midnight, the sequel, is actually out here in Ireland, even though it's not meant to be out until the middle of August. So I cannot wait to dive into that. The next genre is sci-fi, and I don't actually have a lot of sci-fi. I did have two anyway. The first sci-fi book I'm going to recommend is Obsidian by Jennifer Armentrout. If anyone knows me, you know I will read any of her books. I love everything she writes, but this series has to be my all-time favourite. It's about aliens. The main characters, Kathy and Damon. And Damon is by far my favourite book boyfriend. Um, I don't know what to say about this book other than you have to read it. It's very heavy on romance. Not so much on the sci-fi. But it's about aliens, like, and there are a lot of aliens in it. Again, I wrote a review on this one, so if you want to read that, the link is below. The next sci-fi book, compared to Obsidian, in my opinion, is a true kind of sci-fi book, and it is Across the Universe by Beth Revis. This is about a girl, Amy, who her and her parents are cryogenically frozen on this spaceship as they're heading for another planet, and it takes a good few years to get there. I think 50 years or something like that, so that's why they're cryogenically frozen. But of course someone wakes her up and people are getting murdered and everything on the spaceship, so she has to find out what's going on with the help of Elder. So there's a lot of action, there's a lot of mystery and everything. There's a bit of romance, not an awful lot, but enough to satisfy you romantics at heart out there like me. I haven't read the second and third book in the series yet, but I do have them, and so I'm really looking forward to reading them to find out what happens next. The next genre is paranormal, and I had a tough time narrowing this down because I love my paranormal books, but I was able to pick out just two anyway, and the first one is Angel Fall by Susan E. I'm not really sure though if you class this as paranormal. It kind of falls into a load of different genres like fantasy, and it's apocalyptic. But yeah, it'd be fantasy, could be paranormal, but I'm putting in with the paranormals anyway. This book is by far the most amazing angel book ever. Like ever, even one of the most amazing books ever. I am obsessed with this book, and I have been tearing my hair out since I finished reading it, waiting for the second book to come out, and I nearly cried with happiness when I found out it was going to be out in November, even though it is still a long way away, but at least I have a date. It's about angels, and they're taking over the earth and they're killing everyone, and it's just amazing. And the characters in it, Penryn and Raffi, and I love it, just amazing. I wrote a review on this as well if you want to read it, but yeah, you have to read this book, no matter what, you have to read it. The next paranormal book I'm going to recommend is Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter. This is a zombie book, and it's kind of loosely, very, very, very loosely based around the tales of Alice in Wonderland. Not, even though it's, like it says Alice in Zombieland, but there's not an awful lot of kind of references and stuff to Alice in Wonderland. But it's a very good zombie read. I really love this book. There's loads of action and everything in it, and I loved the romance in it as well between Alison and Cole, and I wrote a review on this. If you want to read that, the link is below. But if you love your zombie books, this is one I'd recommend you read. Okay, so the last genre is historical fiction, and I haven't really read many historical fiction books. I don't know why, but I was able to eventually find two. At first, I could only find one, but I did eventually find the second one. So the first historical fiction book is, you can probably guess what it is. It's Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I love this series so much, but I'm like an emotional wreck after each book. They're so emotional and they just get at you. It's set in the 1870s, I think, late 1870s, early 1880s. And again, it's based around the world of the Shadowhunters and everything, like the Mortal Instruments series. But yeah, I loved this series so much. So the second historical book I found, I don't actually have anymore because I gave it away to charity, but it is Darker Still. This is set in the 1880s, and it's about this girl who's mute, who's I think her father or someone, I can't really remember, but there's a painting in it anyway, and she's able to step into the painting and she's actually able to talk while she's in the painting and talk to the character that's in the painting. It's a really interesting story, and I really liked the idea of it, and I liked the characters and everything in it, so I'd recommend that one anyway. So they're all my books that I recommend anyway, all 12 of them. I've left review links and everything down below for the ones that I've wrote reviews on if you want to go check them out. I'll leave Benjamin's link as well to his original video, and I'll leave the link to Lisa's video that she tagged me in as well down below. Hopefully I was able to recommend some books to you that you haven't read yet. If you have any recommendations, I'd love to hear them. But that's it anyway, and I shall talk to you all in the next video.